In autumn of 2023, I moved back to my country after dropping out of university. I was convinced to temporarily stay with the mother of my, at the time, best friend. My options were very limited, so I ended up humbly accepting the offer and paying less than the average rent price. Boy oh boy, did I not expect how things would develop over the next year and a half. By the way, if you're new here, hi, I'm a neurodivergent disabled artist with a lot of issues. This is relevant information, I promise. When I moved to Lithuania to go to university in January 2022, my family moved to Germany. Once I ended up returning here, I was stranded and alone, with the only people to lean on being the people I genuinely hate at this point. I'll leave out the whole best friend situation for another video because there's, a lot to unpack. So, to reiterate, my landlady is the mother of my ex-best friend, whom I completely cut out of my life now. And I currently live with that mother, renting out a small room in her house on the outskirts of the city. Let's call her Leslie, because landlady is a mouthful for me. Leslie is a 50-something-year-old extroverted neurotypical widow with the compassion and intellect capacity of a peanut. She was probably also the reason why her daughter learned to take advantage of people, and how to pretend like you're listening while absolutely ignoring every single word you're being told. Look, being the little introverted slime that I am, you basically wouldn't even notice that I'm living with you. I keep quiet in my room, using my headphones 90% of the time to avoid disturbing anyone, and I always clean up after myself. Unless you randomly catch me in the kitchen or bathroom, you would forget that I even exist. And because I have financial trauma, I'm extremely frugal and will use as little water and electricity as I physically can. Keeping that in mind, I offered to pay her a rent that would cover my portion of bills, plus the double of that on top for staying in that room. Considering I was her daughter's bestie, that sounds like a great deal, right? You get cash and someone you trust to watch your house and pets whenever you're not around. It's a win-win situation. Well, apparently that wasn't enough for her because a couple months later, she raises my rent by 60%. Her reasoning? She complained about inflation and how she can't keep up with it. Mind you, I saw the bills for electricity and water and such. My rent alone would cover the entirety of it all, and I'm not even using enough water and electricity to make up 50% of the bills. But whatever, I complied. And I guess that was my first mistake, because she probably saw an opportunity at that moment, and she took it. Time passes. I continue to wallow in despair from the burnout and depression university put me through. And one not-so-lovely morning, Leslie decided to ask me if I can pay for the next month early. I'm literally living on savings right now, so I saw no issue with that. It's not like I'm going anywhere soon. I comply again, which in hindsight was my second mistake. I should not have complied. Not the first time, and especially not the second time. But as I said before, I have issues. I seem to be absolutely unable to say no to a person I depend on for basic survival in fear of being kicked out. This was the moment Leslie decided, "Oh, I got a golden goose here." So she continues to ask me for money every other month, to the point that I had over half a year of rent paid up front. The funniest part of this situation is that she literally runs to brag to me whenever she makes a new purchase, which doesn't align with the things she talked about when she asked me for money. So let's say she asked for X amount of money for renovating the doghouse. Time passes, renovations are halfway done, and she comes to me again because she ran out of funds. I comply, and later find out that she went on vacation. How did I find out? Well, she bragged to me about it. But whatever, I freely gave her the money when she asked. I don't really care. I'm not giving her any more, since at this point, she's paying me back because a couple months ago she asked for a pretty big sum. I told her that was the last time and that I can't do it anymore. She understood and thankfully is diligently paying me back now. This whole financial situation aside, which is mostly annoying but not actually harmful, the things that infuriate me are of a different nature. Do you remember how I said that I'm disabled and neurodivergent? This is the part where it ties in with the story. I have HEDS and POTS, which makes me physically disabled, so I can't really move all that much. The healthcare system here sucks and I don't even have the money for treatment anyway, nor mental capacity for it because I just don't trust doctors here anymore. I had almost died twice because of them in the past. I'm not testing fate for a third time. During the first year living here, I was still somewhat interactive with her. We would chat in the kitchen when our paths crossed, mostly her talking my ear off, but I still kept up with the conversation. In that time, I have repeatedly stated that I don't like to talk about some topics, that I don't appreciate certain questions, and that some things trigger me. Naturally, she ignores all my boundaries every single time, which is exactly why I gradually stopped talking to her. Now, whenever I run into her, I mostly stay silent. But she's an extrovert. Apparently, she can't stand the silence and keeps talking to me. The thing that bothers me the most is her constant nagging about how little I leave the house. Now, if you're not familiar with HEDS and POTS, there are a lot of things to consider when you move out and about in the wild. I recently had a POTS flare-up without noticing it at first and ended up almost passing out in the shower with my pulse spiking to 182 beats per minute, which is insane for a basic task like that. With HEDS, even the simplest things are hard because my connective tissue is flawed. I'm in constant pain 24/7 and can get subluxations from walking, just because I stepped not the right way. I have explained this to her time and time again, yet she keeps telling me to move more, go outside, use her elliptical trainer. Every time I hear those words, I take at least 50 mental damage. Hell, she drove me into a meltdown with her prying multiple times over the past year. And that says a lot. I don't break easily. I can count all the meltdowns I've had throughout my whole life on my fingers. It's bad enough that she ignores my boundaries, but her repeating questions I answered multiple times reminds me of all the trauma I have related to not being listened to. And that really takes a toll. I guess on the bright side, this whole living arrangement and added trauma she put me through was like a wake-up call for me. I can't keep living like this, and I don't want to depend on anyone aside from myself and my own work. Which is why I started to make videos trying to get my art in front of people. I just want to live alone without anyone bothering my peace and quiet, without fearing I won't be able to cover the rent or afford my next meal. I'm a simple slime. I want simple things. Sure, I can't do a 9-to-5 job. I can't handle schedules, nor can I leave the house on a daily basis. But I can try to turn my passions into a stream of revenue. And maybe somewhere during the next 6 months I'll finally be able to leave this landlady from hell behind and pretend it was all just a bad dream. On that note, I'll be opening commissions once I get to 500 followers on Bluesky. I'll be making an announcement here once that happens, so make sure you like and subscribe if you're at all interested in supporting a tiny little slime with its silly little dreams of being an independent creator. Love you. Bye.